What if the real reason you feel exhausted is not because life is hard, but because you are fighting battles you were never meant to fight? Think about it. Every day you are pulled into conflicts that drain you, arguments that don't matter, opinions that don't change your life, situations that demand your reaction, your energy, your attention. And slowly, without realizing it, you become tired, not physically but mentally, emotionally, deeply. You feel like you're always on edge, always defending, always proving something. And yet, no matter how much you push, it never feels like enough. Because the truth is, you've been taught the wrong definition of strength. You were told that winning means overpowering others. That you must respond to every challenge. That silence is weakness. That stepping back means losing. But what if all of that is wrong? What if real power is something quieter, something deeper, something far more dangerous? There is a philosophy that has existed for centuries, a mindset built not on force but on control. Not on reaction but on awareness. It teaches you how to move through life without being dragged into unnecessary battles. It shows you how to win without fighting. And once you understand it, everything changes. Because the moment you stop reacting to everything around you, you take your power back. Right now, most people are not in control of their lives. They are controlled by triggers. A single comment can ruin their day. A small challenge can shake their confidence. A moment of pressure can break their focus. They don't choose their responses. Their emotions choose for them. But you don't have to live like that. Imagine being the one who stays calm when others lose control. Imagine being the one who sees clearly when others are blinded by emotion. Imagine walking into any situation without the need to prove anything, because you already know your value. That is a different level of power. And here's the truth most people never realize. Every conflict has a cost. Every argument takes something from you, your time, your energy, your peace. And most of the time, the outcome is not worth the price you pay. So why keep paying it? Why keep fighting battles that don't move your life forward? The strongest individuals are not the ones constantly in conflict. They are the ones who understand which battles matter and which ones are distractions. They don't react to everything. They choose carefully. They protect their energy like it is their most valuable asset, because it is. When you stop reacting impulsively, something powerful happens. You create space, space to think. Space to observe, space to understand what is really going on beneath the surface. And in that space, you gain clarity. You start to see patterns. You start to understand people. You begin to recognize that most conflicts are not even about you. They are projections, insecurities, noise, and suddenly you no longer feel the need to engage. That is where true control begins. This is not about avoiding life. It is about mastering it. It is about realizing that your energy is limited and where you invest it determines your future. Every reaction you give is a decision. Every battle you enter shapes your path. So the question becomes simple. Will you continue reacting to everything, or will you rise above it? Because the moment you master yourself, you stop being a player in someone else's game. You become the one who decides the outcome, and that is where real winning begins. And once you begin to see this clearly, something uncomfortable starts to surface. You realize that the biggest thing standing between you and control is not the world around you, it is your own mind. Because no matter how calm you try to act on the outside, if your mind is chaotic, you will always feel pulled in different directions. One moment you want to stay quiet, the next moment your emotions push you to react. One moment you want peace, the next moment your thoughts drag you back into conflict. This inner instability is what keeps you trapped. Most people never question this. They wake up with racing thoughts and assume it is normal. They feel anxiety, frustration, anger, and believe they have no choice but to follow it. But that is not awareness. That is conditioning. Your mind has been trained to react. Every time you immediately respond to criticism, you strengthen that habit. Every time you let anger control your words, you reinforce that pattern. Over time, it becomes automatic. You don't think, you just react. And when you live like this, you are not in control. You are being controlled. This is where real transformation begins. You have to create space inside your mind. A small gap between what happens and how you respond. That gap is everything. That gap is where power lives. Because when something triggers you and you pause instead of reacting, you break the pattern. You take back control. You remind yourself that you are not your first impulse. You are the one who chooses what to do with it. This is not easy. Your mind will resist. It will push you to react quickly, to defend yourself, to prove something. But you have to see through that impulse. You have to understand that most of the time that urge is not strength. It is fear disguised as action. True strength is calm. It is the ability to stay grounded when everything inside you wants to explode. It is the discipline to hold your response until you understand the situation fully. It is the awareness to recognize that not every feeling deserves expression. When you develop this level of control, your entire reality shifts. Situations that once triggered you lose their power. Words that once affected you feel empty. People who once controlled your emotions can no longer reach you in the same way, and this is where freedom begins. Because now you are no longer reacting based on habit, you are responding based on choice. Science supports this deeply. When you pause before reacting, you activate the part of your brain responsible for logic and decision-making. You move out of emotional survival mode and into conscious control. This is what separates those who stay stuck from those who rise above. And the difference is not intelligence. It is discipline. Discipline to observe your thoughts without becoming them. Discipline to feel emotions without being ruled by them. Discipline to choose your response with intention. This is the foundation of winning without fighting. Because most conflicts are fueled by emotional reactions. Remove the reaction and the conflict weakens. Remove the impulse and the situation changes. You are no longer feeding the fire. You are stepping out of it. And in that moment you gain something most people never experience. Clarity. You begin to see things as they are, not as your emotions distort them. You understand what matters and what does not. You recognize which situations deserve your energy and which ones are simply distractions. And once you see that clearly, you stop wasting yourself on things that do not deserve you. That is when your mind stops being your weakness and becomes your greatest weapon. And as your mind becomes quieter, something else becomes clearer. Not everything deserves your presence. You start to notice how often you place yourself in situations that drain you. Conversations that go nowhere. Environments that suffocate your focus. People who pull you into cycles of negativity again and again. And deep down, you already know the truth. You feel it every time you walk away feeling heavier than before. But instead of stepping back, you stay. You engage. You respond. You try to fix what was never yours to fix. This is where your energy disappears. Because every moment you stay in the wrong place, you are slowly losing the strength you need for the right one. Your attention is being consumed by things that add no value to your growth. And the more you allow it, the more it becomes your reality. You don't need to fight every battle. You don't need to answer every voice. You don't need to prove your worth in every situation. Sometimes the most powerful move is to step away, not out of fear, not out of weakness, but out of awareness. Because when you truly understand your value, you stop placing yourself where it is not recognized. You stop giving your energy to what cannot grow you. You stop reacting to things that are beneath your focus. This is not avoidance. This is control. You are choosing where your presence goes. You are deciding what deserves your attention. And in doing so, you are protecting the most valuable resource you have, your energy. Most people don't realize how limited this resource is. They give it away freely, to arguments, to distractions, to people who do not even respect it. And then they wonder why they feel exhausted, unfocused, and stuck. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You begin to pull back. You become more selective, more intentional, more aware of where you invest yourself. And suddenly something powerful starts to happen. Your presence gains weight. Because when you are not constantly available, you become valuable. When you are not reacting to everything, your reactions become meaningful. When you are not everywhere, your presence becomes rare. And rarity creates power. You stop being predictable. People can no longer control you through expectation. They cannot pull you into their patterns because you are no longer playing the same game. You are operating on a different level. There is strength in silence. There is power in distance. There is control in knowing when to step back. And when you master this, you begin to see everything from a higher perspective. You are no longer lost inside the situation. You are observing it from the outside. You notice intentions. You recognize patterns. You understand what is really happening beneath the surface. And this awareness gives you an advantage that force never could, because now you are not reacting blindly. You are choosing strategically. You know when to engage. You know when to stay silent. You know when to walk away completely. And that decision alone can change everything. Because the moment you stop feeding unnecessary conflict, it begins to collapse on its own. The moment you remove your energy, the situation loses its power over you. This is how you win without fighting. You don't waste yourself trying to control everything around you. You control where you stand. You control what you give your attention to. You control when you stay and when you disappear. And in that control, you become untouchable. Not because nothing challenges you, but because nothing can pull you in unless you allow it. That is real power. And once you feel it, you will never go back to giving yourself away so easily again. And when you begin to step back like this, when you stop giving your energy away so easily, something sharp awakens inside you, your ability to truly see people, not just hear them. Not just react to their words, but to understand them on a deeper level, because most people only listen on the surface. They focus on what is being said, not why it is being said. They react to tone, to volume, to emotion, without ever questioning the intention behind it. And this is why they get pulled into unnecessary conflict again and again. They are responding to noise, not truth. But when your mind is calm, when you are no longer desperate to react, you start noticing things others completely miss. Small shifts, subtle signals. Patterns that repeat over time. You begin to see when someone speaks from insecurity instead of confidence. You recognize when someone is trying to provoke you, not because of your actions, but because of their own inner state. You notice the gap between what people say and what they actually do. And in that awareness, everything changes, because now you are no longer reacting blindly. You are responding with understanding. You realize that many conflicts were never about you in the first place. They were projections, frustrations, unresolved emotions being thrown in your direction. And if you react without awareness, you absorb all of it. But when you see clearly, you stop taking things personally. And that alone removes so much unnecessary weight from your life. You don't feel the need to defend yourself constantly. You don't feel attacked by every opinion. You don't feel pulled into every emotional wave that comes your way. Instead, you observe, you analyze. You understand, and this gives you a quiet advantage that most people will never have. Because when you understand people, you become one step ahead without saying a word. You can predict reactions. You can sense intentions. You can navigate situations with precision instead of force. This is not manipulation. This is awareness at a higher level, and awareness creates control. You begin to realize that not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions. Just because someone speaks does not mean you must respond. Just because someone acts does not mean you must engage. You choose, and that choice is power, because now your actions are no longer driven by impulse. They are guided by understanding. You are not trying to win arguments. You are moving through situations with clarity, and clarity makes you efficient. You say less, but it carries more weight. You do less, but it creates more impact. You engage only when necessary, and when you do, it is intentional. This is how you stay in control without force. Because while others are exposing everything through emotional reactions, you remain composed. While others reveal their weaknesses through impulsive behavior, you stay grounded. And this imbalance creates a silent dominance. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to prove anything. Your awareness does the work for you. People can feel it even if they don't understand it. They sense that you are not easy to read, not easy to provoke, not easy to control, and that changes how they approach you. Because when you stop reacting like everyone else, you stop being treated like everyone else. You become someone who cannot be easily pulled into chaos, someone who sees beyond the surface, someone who moves with understanding instead of emotion. And in that state, conflict begins to lose its grip on you, not because it disappears, but because you no longer fall into it. And when you reach this level of awareness, when you can see people clearly without being pulled into their emotions, something even deeper begins to unfold. You start to see yourself just as clearly. And this is where most people hesitate. It is easy to observe others. It is comfortable to analyze their behavior, their patterns, their flaws. But turning that same level of awareness inward requires courage, because now there is nowhere to hide. You begin to notice your own triggers, the moments where your patience disappears. The situations where your emotions take control. The habits that quietly hold you back. And for the first time, you see them not as random reactions, but as patterns. Patterns that can be understood. Patterns that can be changed. Most people run from this. They avoid looking at their weaknesses because it feels uncomfortable. It feels like losing control. But the truth is, ignoring your weaknesses is what keeps you powerless. Because anything you refuse to face controls you. The moment you choose to face it, you take that control back. This is where real strength is built. Not in proving yourself to others, but in understanding yourself deeply. In recognizing where you break, where you hesitate, where you lose focus, and deciding to work on it without excuses. This is not about judgment, it is about awareness. Because when you see your weaknesses clearly, they stop being hidden threats. They become visible targets for growth. You no longer fear them, you use them. If you notice that you react emotionally under pressure, you train yourself to pause longer. If you see that you lose discipline easily, you build systems that support consistency. If you recognize that certain environments weaken you, you remove yourself from them. You adapt, and adaptation is power, because now you are no longer fragile. You are flexible. You are not relying on perfect conditions. You are becoming strong regardless of the situation. This is what separates those who collapse under pressure from those who rise through it. It is not talent, it is not luck. It is self-awareness combined with action. You stop making excuses. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for the right moment. Instead, you take responsibility for your growth. And that responsibility transforms you. Because every time you face a weakness and work through it, you become stronger. Not just externally, but internally. You build a level of resilience that cannot be shaken easily. And once you have that, the world starts to feel different. Challenges no longer intimidate you the same way. Pressure does not break you as easily. You remain steady even when things around you are unstable. This is the kind of strength that does not need to be shown. It is felt, and more importantly, it protects you. Because when you know yourself deeply, no one else can use your weaknesses against you. There is nothing hidden for them to exploit. There is no reaction they can easily trigger. You become grounded. You become aware. You become in control. And in that control, something powerful happens. You stop fighting yourself. Because the biggest battle was never outside. It was always within your own mind, your own habits, your own patterns. And now you are no longer losing that battle. You are mastering it. And when you master yourself at this level, external conflicts begin to lose their meaning. Not because they disappear, but because they no longer have the power to shake you. You are no longer reacting from weakness. You are acting from awareness. And that is a level of power most people will never reach. And as you begin to master yourself at this level, your actions start to change in a powerful way. You no longer move out of pressure, emotion, or urgency. You move with intention. Every step becomes deliberate. Most people confuse action with effectiveness. They believe that doing more means achieving more, so they rush, they push, they force outcomes, but in that rush they lose accuracy, they make mistakes, they create resistance where none was needed. And then they wonder why everything feels harder than it should. But when you are in control of your mind, when you are aware of yourself and your environment, you stop rushing. You slow down not because you are weak, but because you understand something deeper. Timing matters more than speed. You begin to see that the right action at the right moment with the right intention can achieve more than 100 rushed decisions. This is precision, and precision is power. Because when you act with precision, you are not wasting energy. You are directing it. You are not reacting blindly. You are responding with clarity. Every move you make has purpose behind it. This changes everything. You stop trying to fix everything at once. You stop jumping into situations without understanding them fully. You stop speaking just to fill silence or prove a point. Instead, you wait, you observe, you choose your moment, and when you act, it lands exactly where it needs to. This is why calm individuals often seem more powerful. It is not because they are doing less. It is because they are doing what matters. They are not distracted by noise. They are focused on impact, and that focus creates results. Think about how much energy is wasted in unnecessary reactions. How many words are spoken without purpose? How many decisions are made out of pressure instead of clarity? Now imagine removing all of that. Imagine acting only when it truly matters, speaking only when it adds value, moving only when the timing is right, Your life becomes sharper, cleaner, more effective. This is how you create progress without conflict, because force creates resistance. The more you push blindly, the more the world pushes back, but precision works differently. It flows, it adapts. It finds the path of least resistance and uses it. And this is where you gain a quiet advantage. While others are exhausting themselves trying to control everything, you are moving with strategy. While others are reacting emotionally, you are acting intentionally. You are no longer trying to overpower situations. You are navigating them, and that difference is everything. Because when you stop relying on force, you stop creating unnecessary battles. You solve problems before they escalate. You move around obstacles instead of crashing into them. You become efficient. And efficiency leads to mastery. This is how you win without fighting, not by avoiding action but by refining it, not by doing less but by doing what truly matters. Not by forcing outcomes but by aligning your actions with clarity and timing. And when you live like this, something shifts inside you. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself through constant action. You trust your decisions, you trust your pace, you trust your awareness. You move with confidence, not because you are rushing, but because you know exactly why you are moving. And that level of control makes you dangerous in the most silent way. Because every move you make counts, every action has impact, and nothing is wasted. And when every move you make begins to carry intention, when nothing is wasted and everything